So, most of you have probably seen the tragic video in North Charleston, South Carolina of Walter Scott, an unarmed black father of 4, getting murdered by that cop. Walter, who posed no threat whatsoever to the cop, was jogging away, but that cop still pumped 8 bullets into him, killing him. Shooting was caught on video, and it should be clear to everyone who watches what occurred that what happened was cold-blooded murder. And I don't think that even the right wing can spin this one in favor of the cop. And ultimately, I think that even they will end up condemning this inhumane killing of an unarmed man. But remember, I thought the exact same thing about Trayvon Martin, Mike Brown, and Eric Garner. I thought in all those cases that nobody could possibly take the side of the shooters. But in all those cases, the right wing managed to spin what should have been obvious convictions into acquittals of guilty men. So, you know, I'm just not going to mark this one in the win column for justice just yet, because I was sure that justice would be served in all those other cases too, but, you know, it wasn't. So anyway, what happened in this incident was just appalling and evil. I can't describe it any other way. But most of us were just as appalled and mortified when Trayvon Martin was murdered, and when Eric Garner and Mike Brown were murdered. But in all 3 of those cases, the right wing found a way to spin the cases to paint the victims as villains and murderers as heroes. And you know, I remember first hearing George Zimmerman's story and thinking to myself, nobody's gonna believe that. But you know, with the help of Fox News, Zimmerman managed to paint Trayvon as a thug and himself as just an innocent victim. You know, and it ended up causing a murderer to walk free. And I don't know how many of y'all remember the Mike Brown thing, but when it first came out, the day after it came out, you had witness after witness all coming out telling the exact same story of what happened. And you know, to us, those of us who were following it from the start, you know, it was clear to us what had happened, and we thought it was going to be clear to everyone else as well. But you know, once that cop came out telling his ridiculous story, drilling it into everyone's head, you know, now, you know, the public bought it, and now you get chastised, you know, just for disagreeing with what happened in the grand jury decision. You know, in Eric Garner's case, just like this one, it was all caught entirely on film, and it seemed to everyone that we were going to get a conviction. But in the end, even though it was all on camera, not only did no conviction, there wasn't even an indictment. You know, now I'm more optimistic about this case, but I still think that there is a possibility that Fox takes the side of the cop, and as a result, the cop will get acquitted. But you know, here's some signs to look out for that would suggest that the given scenario might occur. You know, first of all, you hear them saying, you know, them people on Fox saying like, oh, let's not jump to any conclusions. You know, let's wait for all the evidence to come out, or you know, remember, you're innocent until proven guilty. You start hearing those things, that means there's a good chance they might end up supporting the cop. All right, because you know, here's the deal: we already know what happened. We saw the video, and we heard the witness talking. We already know what happened. Those facts alone should be more than enough for us to come to the conclusion that this man was murdered. But in all the other cases, Fox, they told us to wait for all the evidence to come out. And in all those cases, you know, they were just doing that so that they could wait and spin the facts to slander the victims and to glorify the murderers. And when they say to wait for the facts, you know, they don't mean the real facts. They mean the false accounts and lame excuses from the cops so that they can ignore the real facts and try to slander the victims and glorify the shooters. You know, once there's a false narrative supporting the cop, you know, at that point anything can happen, really. Second, you know, I'd say beware any attempts to dwell on the victim's background. Like, most people have some sort of baggage that can be used against them, you know, even when that baggage is irrelevant to the actual case. For Trayvon, it was weed. You know, most teenagers do smoke weed, and the fact that Trayvon did a little weed here and there, it didn't have anything to do with the case itself. But right-wing media, they just ended up using it to paint Trayvon as a thug. You know, and Mike Brown, the video of him robbing the store, it did not justify him getting murdered. And when you look at the facts, the store robbery was pretty much irrelevant to the case itself. But once the media started playing that tape over and over again to avoid the facts, at that point the case was over. And Walter Scott, I looked up his background. He's had a little legal trouble in the past. Most of it's pretty minor. But if the right wing keeps on bringing it up to smear him, you know, I don't know what could happen at that point. You know, they might end up supporting the cops and, you know, getting that murderous cop to walk free. I don't know what's going to happen. But anyway, I'd say lastly, like, don't fall for any ridiculous stories that the defense brings up. You know, any ridiculous stories they just make up. You know, in the Trayvon Martin and Mike Brown cases, Zimmerman and Wilson, they both made up these outlandish stories of the victim just unprovokedly attacking them. And, you know, they seem like obviously made up to me, but people ended up buying them, you know. And if the cop in this case tries to make up some story of Walter just randomly attacking him without provocation, you know, if that happens, your internal lie detector should be going off, because, you know, people don't just randomly attack cops out of nowhere. And so if the cop says something like that, the cop's probably lying. Anyway, I'm more optimistic about getting a conviction in this case than I was for the other ones. I feel like even Fox will have a really hard time trying to spin this one. But I felt the same way about the other cases too, so I'm not going to count my chickens before they hatch. Anyway, I'm just saying, you know, be careful when listening to what the right wing tells you about the case, and be prepared, you know, to hear them try to spin the facts and slander the victim. My condolences to the Scott family. What happened was wrong. What happened was murder. You know, no one deserves to lose a member of their family in such an inhumane manner, and, you know, I hope justice is served. So let's hope for the best. See you later.